We all choose samples differently. Some record from YouTube or Spotify, many use Splice, Tracklib, and similar services. And there are those who prefer to choose vinyl at flea markets in hopes of finding something unique. I used to often have such a problem that when there is free time for music, I am charged up, turn on my MPC or push 3 and nothing. I find one sample, it just doesn't work. Another sample, still nothing. Have you noticed what the main mistake I'm making here is? Imagine you've decided to go on a picnic in the mountains, and in the morning you get into the car, pack your things, sandwiches, but you don't know where to go. You begin searching on the map for lovely locations for a picnic, perusing forums, inquiring with individuals in chat about their recommendations. In the end, everyone is dissatisfied and the picnic most likely did not go well. My mistake used to be that during creative inspiration, when I had time to work, I was searching for samples. And this is likely the path to nowhere. To find inspiration and motivation, I've developed a simple principle for myself. I divide production into 2 stages for myself. The first one is searching and listening to material, and it's sorting. The second thing is the creative process of working. While driving to the city center, I listen to Spotify with jazz, funk, or even Soviet pop music. If something catches my attention, I add it to my playlist. You can search by country, by year, by similar artists. For example, Polish jazz from the 60s. And off we go. After some time of listening, you will already know some similar artists and what exactly to look for in their works. Perhaps in a day, 2, or a week's time. In my Spotify account, I have a playlist where I add tracks for the purpose of sampling. By the way, I can even make certain notes. For example, in this track, at such and such a second, I liked such a passage. Or here is a very interesting saxophone sound, for example. Or in this track, you can try cutting out the drum part. It helps a lot later on. So, next time, the next day, in a week, in a month, when I have inspiration, when I have time to turn on my push MPC Roland, I no longer engage in searching, I no longer engage in selecting samples. I already have them, just take them and start trying to apply it. That's all. It's brilliantly simple. I picked out 5 tracks this week, and it's not guaranteed that I will make 5 finished instrumentals out of these 5. Not necessarily. Out of these 5, 4 may not work, and you end up with 1, for example, and that would already be a positive outcome. So the first part, preparation, is when I specifically listen, sort through, it can be vinyl, Spotify, YouTube, anything. The main thing is that during this time you are engaged in listening, thereby training your ability to listen. And the second stage is the actual production. When you have prepared the material, you know which parts you will take from there and which parts you will cut. Moreover, this also applies to one-shots, meaning when I listen to Splice, I understand, these sounds will be suitable for something like that. And these sounds from Splice, for instance, I also begin attempting to utilize, it appears, because when you browse through your terabytes, gigabytes, one-shots from which you might discover 7 at most, that also consumes a significant amount of time. That is why I love Splice, because all of the samples I have added, I know that I will most likely use them. So, what do I pay attention to when listening to material for sampling in the end? It's clear that in principle any track can be used for sampling. There are absolutely different crazy examples when a complete track is made out of fractions of a second, but we are now talking about something more average. At this very moment in my production, let's say, I am not fond of simply using a pre-existing loop that is already fully prepared from start to finish. Instead, you insert it and consider it complete. I still enjoy making things a bit more complicated, let us say. Therefore, primarily when I listen to different tracks, I search for some additional obscure sounds, more peculiar sounds. For example, it could be some soundtrack where there are literally some notes, something like a string instrument here, a trumpet there, and then you can reorganize all of this and create your own melody or your own pattern to be more precise. Although there's nothing wrong with that either if you found something like an intro, took it, tweaked it a bit, fine-tuned it, added your touch, maybe rearranged something, and there you have it ready. Moreover, artificial intelligence also greatly assists with this task now when you listen to some tracks, because now I start listening to tracks a little differently. For example, I'm driving and listening, and I think here in this track there's a cool melody, but this melody is overlaid with vocals. For instance, I think, I'll add this track to my playlist now, but I'll make a note that from this point to this moment there's a very cool melody, but I should try to remove the vocals using some Serato sample. As they say, you won't know until you try, and sometimes Serato does a very good job of removing vocals, leaving only the melody. You can also remove some percussion there, and that's it. Then this material is ready for sampling. Sometimes it happens that there are still a lot of artifacts left, and it's not possible to completely remove the vocals. Well, okay, we tried. Yeah, it didn't work out. I mean, this is such a brilliantly simple approach to production that was always right there, but for some reason I didn't notice it. Accordingly, I am happy to share this approach with you. By the way, write in the comments what methods you use to search for samples in your production. It will be interesting to read, and of course check out these videos where I show how cool it is to learn how to make sample tracks. Check them out.